crime of thought really is a thing.
They say we have freedom of speech,
but we really don't.
We don't.
We can't even post on social media without them doing raids on houses, and that's something I've been threatened with before. And I don't post anything that even goes against their legal, premise and stuff. So that in itself, I'm very careful because I've got people that I need to protect as well.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I'm just like, these threats come from if and when I show up at protests, they're looking for me. I'm on those lists now because I've made a name for myself, and especially because of the nonprofit. One of the most interesting things I found once we made this nonprofit was them saying that we are terrorists and we're supporting terrorism because we distribute aid and food and water, prosthetics, the child amputees, medicine. And it's like that in itself, the way that they try and not only dehumanize the people that we are giving this aid to, but dehumanize us and try to vilify us for giving that aid. That in itself speaks volumes to me of the type of world we live in, and these people that, like, I can't comprehend what's going through their head when they're typing that comment out. Like, you're saying that a baby is a terrorist and us giving them baby formula is supporting terrorism. You're writing that out. That's going through your head, and you're writing it out and looking, I'll post that. That's a great thing to post. I'll do that. That's not going to blow back on me in any way. And often it doesn't. More times than not, they get away with it.
Yeah.
Their comments are allowed to stay up on social media. And if we respond to it, our posts get taken down and censored by Meta, who are now shutting down Palestinian accounts. They're censoring anybody who speaks out against the genocide. And we have to find ways to battle the algorithm, which is completely written against us. And I guess that's the main struggle I'm dealing with on social media. I can deal with the hate, I can deal with the vitriol, but how do you deal with an AI that supports that? Because that's not a human being you can get through to. I can get through to a human being most of the time.
When people listen to your music, what do you hope they feel?
Hope. I want them to feel, to be fair, I want them to feel whatever emotion I'm feeling in that moment, because I want them to experience it and live it with me. Obviously, I don't want them to feel the hurt and the pain and stuff, but a lot of it does get suppressed. And when you go to a concert and stuff, you do go for escapism. And a lot of my music is escapism. It's fun, it's upbeat and joyful and stuff. But then a lot of it isn't. A lot of it is a reality check where I'm trying to be honest and say, this is how I'm feeling. And heads up, you're going to feel it.
I want that. I want that, Ace. Do you think music can heal or help people process things?
I think music is a universal language, and it's one of the, or art in general, it's one of the most powerful things that people can use to heal. It's more powerful than therapy. I don't think I've ever healed via therapy. It's never made me feel better. It's always made me feel worse. It's made me relive trauma and then not help me get past it. It's just sort of, it helps me understand what I went through, but being self-aware, I already know that. And, my coping mechanisms are through my creativity. And at the same time, there's a lot of music I can't perform that I've written, because I do feel like when I perform it and sing it, I'm reliving what I went through when I wrote it. So I have to be careful in that sense, because I need to choose how I want to feel. If I've got a gig and I'm like, well, I have to prepare myself, because if I'm going to be playing these vulnerable songs, I'm going to have to prepare myself to be in a vulnerable place.
And you won't feel safe.
Yeah, I won't feel safe. It will cause a flare-up. It will trigger me.
Yes.
And I need to make sure that I've got a support system in place and people there to look after me. And it's interesting because when I do those shows specifically, those are the ones where people really want to come up to me afterwards and speak about it and speak about their own trauma. which I love to do. I love it when people open up and feel safe enough to do that with me. But as you know, when you're in that space, all you want to do is leave. And so I have to be in almost a fight or flight and freeze mode where I am conversing with a person after, and I'm mid panic attack and I'm having to mask it. And the mask is the issue because I'm having to be like, yeah, that's really, oh, I appreciate you. And like, I'm doing that thing, the socializing thing. And then that's where I go from being myself to then performative. I almost feel that I'm being myself on stage and then performative off stage. And then I feel bad because it's like I'm not being my real self with that person because I also don't want to trigger them.
What does that cost you?
It costs me just like, well, my health, mental and physical. It puts me into a burnout and a fog.
Does that last for long?
It can last for a couple of days, a week, months. You know what I mean? It depends how bad the episode is. But like, in a worst case scenario, I was in a burnout phase for years where I had to leave the music scene because I was having panic attacks and I got really ill, and I was relying on drinking and smoking, and like I just couldn't. I couldn't deal with it without my vices. And then I got sober. And after I got sober, it was even harder to do, but I was doing it. And then I was like, right, I need to get back into music. I need to get my life back. So I did. I got my band back together.
Well done.
But, and there's a big but, I got the band back together. Our first gig that was offered, because everyone was waiting for me to come back to the scene. Promoters were like, finally, she's back.
Yes.
So the first gig I was offered was Isle of Wight Festival.
Wow.
And literally the day before we left for the festival, my dad died. And it was like such a gut punch, you know what I mean? It was like the universe just came down, and I was like, then I had to go into survival mode and push it to the back of my mind like it didn't happen. I didn't tell the band either because I wanted them to have good memories of that show. So we left for Isle of Wight Festival.
What did you tell the band?
I just didn't. I told my guitarist, so I had one person, that was just the night before, so someone knew. But I only did that because they started noticing things were off with me because I started drinking again. So I relapsed as soon as I got to the festival because I was having a panic attack.
Is it your dad? The loss of
yes, so I was like, I need to keep it down. It's just happened. I've got this huge responsibility. I want their memories of this to be good and not centered around what's happened to me. So I didn't tell anyone until like we got back from the festival. So it was like 4 or 5 days later when I made the public announcement. That in itself sucked because making the announcement to your friends on Facebook is one thing, but it didn't. Again, I just wasn't in a mental space where it was really getting through to me that making this announcement now that I'm back in the scene, more people are going to know about it. So when I made that announcement, the promoters that I've done that show with, my debut article on Ace at Isle of Wight Festival, they put it in the headline that my father had passed. They were like, oh, Ace Ambrose makes amazing debut. Little did anyone know her father had passed the day before. And they didn't ask permission to do that. And I just did the whole, thank you for the support thing, because I didn't want to make a big deal and be that person. But from that was thousands of people's introduction to me as an artist from one of the biggest promoters in the UK. And suddenly all these bands that I looked up to that are, really big, and that they were liking this post, and it was like, oh, it's a show of strength. Yeah, you need to see this as a good thing because people are seeing how strong you are. And I was like,
you didn't.
That's not. I don't. Yeah, it felt like an invasion of privacy.
Did you feel that is personal and you need to grieve? on your own.
Yeah, and I didn't. I was in
Was that taken away from you?
completely. I was in survival mode for years, and I didn't cry even until like maybe a year or two later. I was looking after my mum, and I was
Wow.
on the go. I was on tour. You know what I mean? So I was touring, and to this day, I cannot watch back all the videos of our tour online because it's such a bad performance from me personally. The vocals sound to me like a screaming cat because I had retracted. I'd started, like I said, I started drinking again, and I was in that PTSD space. So
is that after leaving the abusive relationship, or was that
yeah,
many years after?
Oh, years after, because I left. Because I left the abusive relationship when I was in college, which was like 13 years ago. Mm-hmm. 13 years ago. Mm-hmm. And this happened during COVID. So the Isle of Wight thing, this happened in 2021.
Wow.
And so I couldn't explain to people already knew at that point. I'd been open about this relationship I'd been in, and I'd been
Did you know you were abused that time?
Yeah.
When it was happening to you?
Yeah, oh, I knew. I knew what was happening, but I was in denial. Like, I was trying to protect him. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know how it feels.
Exactly. And even now, like, you know, years later, like, you know, he, like, justice was served because what he did to another person, not what he did to me.
So you never reported him?
No.
Someone else did?
Yeah, and I wasn't safe to do so. At the time, he made sure I wasn't safe to do so, and it wasn't until he'd moved to another country, and I didn't know this, and he had tried to make a new identity for himself, but again, true colors showed eventually, you know. And that's only the reason why I felt safe enough to try and reinvent myself, because I felt he can't sabotage me now. And then you see, years later, I'm finally living my dream. I'm at Isle of Wight Festival, and then I'm doing this tour, and the PTSD sets in again, all the doubt, because the panic attacks that I had from the trauma of what happened with my dad then merged, because when my body goes into that trauma state, it then, like I said before, makes me relive all the pain that my body felt during the abuse era. And so my vocal cords, they tightened up. I would have panic attacks and throw up before shows, so my voice was raw, and I tried to like be punk rock and like shout through it, and like, you know, like, oh, this is supposed to be how it sounds.
So you just kind of fight through it.
Yeah, but it didn't sound good, and now that feels like that's what my legacy is on YouTube. When people look me up, those performances where I'm at my worst and I sound awful and all of that, it feels like Ace used to be a mask I could wear so people didn't know that's how I was feeling. And now it's like I'm wearing that trauma on stage. My worst performances, my lowest point. And I got the hate comments, and I was like, that's the first time in my life hate comments ever affected me, because I can deal with it as well when it's just me performing, but I felt like I was letting my band down, because obviously we were performing as a band, and if you get hate comments, that affects the band as well. And I just felt like, you know, this was supposed to be our moment. This was supposed to be a breakthrough. This was supposed to be it. We're finally making it.
Do you feel you are hard on yourself?
Oh yeah, no, I'm definitely hard on myself.
I feel you have, I know, I don't feel, you have a big heart. You have a huge heart, and you put a lot of pressure on yourself because you don't want to let anyone down.
Yeah.
But I tell you this, you are amazing. Just being, you know, fighting, getting up, you know, getting dressed, knowing that this is, I can name my pain, I can name my condition, but I refuse to give up. That is brave, and I respect you for that. I know it's difficult, but I look at you and I'm so inspired by your story, by who you are. We all struggle behind closed doors. What would you say your main struggle that just basically it's a daily struggle? Would you say it's only your health?
No, I feel like my main struggle is like I don't know, because the health issues are a part of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's been my obstacle for living, not just for my career and my social relationships, but just existing is hard. Being in pain 24/7, it's so difficult to get through to people. It's like, imagine that you're in a car accident and you never heal. Imagine that you are sick. Yeah, imagine you're sick and you never get better and you're only ever going to get worse. And that's just how people see you. And it's genuinely terrifying because, like I said, I watched my dad degenerate, you know what I mean? And the idea that I now have one of the conditions he had, as well as another condition, all my conditions clash together to make each other worse. And the idea that, you know, this is my life, and getting it when you're old is one thing, because, you know, you're older and you're expected to get ill and you've had a life at least. When you're young and you're faced with this and you realize your entire future is going to be dictated by your conditions,
it must be difficult.
I have no idea what I'm going to do. Like I'm in a mode of right now I'm really sick and I know I have to rest, but at the same time it feels very now or never, because
you have that power inside you.
It's power that I feel I don't want to go to waste, because I know that it's very likely in the near future I'm going to have to quit this as well. I'm not going to be able to perform forever, and especially at the rate that I do. I used to be, you know, like I said, energetic and dancing around on stage with my band. I can't do that now. I oftentimes I need a walking aid or a wheelchair. Even now I struggle to stand on stage with the guitar and I need a seat, and I feel so restricted in that because my thing is movement, you know, and as long as I can get the message out, that's important. But I want people to have to take care of me. I don't want other people to feel pity or sympathy, but then at the same time I need accommodation, and I need to be honest about that if I don't talk about it and I don't ask for help, then I'm not just going to get worse, but I'm not going to be able to do the things I love, because it could even be like if I'm going to a venue to perform and there aren't accommodations where there's like loads of stairs and I can't get up those stairs, or like, yeah, or I might need a ramp if I'm bringing my wheelchair or something, and I won't want people to see that kind of weakness in me.
But you know it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah. I'm getting better with it. You know, I'm getting better with it because I'm starting to think, well, what would I tell another person? You know, I need to hold myself to the same standards that I do other people, because if I'm not being kind to myself the same way that I'm trying to extend kindness to others, then I'm abusing myself. You know what I mean? I become the abuser in that situation because I've got that voice still in my head. It's his voice, but then now it sounds like me. So I think that the voice is true. You know, I trust myself. You know, I trust myself. I know what I'm talking about. I know me better than anyone.
Yes.
But that's when it's like when that toxic voice in your head gets control, because it's now it's the mentality he put me in, but in my voice, it's in me. So it sounds like me. So I'm trusting the wrong part of me.
I appreciate you sharing all of this. This means a lot.
You giving me the platform to do so.
We need to be vulnerable, and this platform,
this is better than therapy.
You know, that's what I heard yesterday. Another episode. Yeah. It's like, oh, this is like being in a session with my therapist.
It's the thing is, it's more comfortable now because, like I said, with therapy, you know, you often get this. It's very clinical and controlled, and like, you know, you're expected to talk about certain things in a certain way, and even then you have to censor yourself because there's still parts of it where you're talking to a therapist like, oh, I can't tell him that.
She might report me. Report me. Oh, you know, she's dangerous to others and herself. You're like, I'm very sane, actually. I don't have any negative thoughts. I'm very healthy.
They don't like it when someone is very self-aware of themselves because, you know, then you're making the therapist uncomfortable, you know, because you're acknowledging, you know, what's wrong, and sometimes there isn't like a fix for it. You have to adapt around it, and you know, in that case, they don't get paid. But like, you
They
know,
use a lot of clinical words.
yeah,
I
it's
think.
the system itself is built really weird because it's not built to help us. You know, it's very robotic, and this is why I find it interesting. Where I don't like AI, you know, I don't, and but I understand why people feel more comfortable talking to AI chatbots than they do
Do you know?
clinical professionals.
I have a friend. I'm not going to mention who. She says to me she gave up on finding a man because she speaks to AI. She goes like, I just tell him how I feel, him or it or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like I speak to AI and he understands me more than the man I met. And I was thinking, that's not the first. I'm hearing it a lot.
Isn't it so
It's
interesting?
a bit scary though.
It's terrifying, but it's so interesting that humans can build and write humanity into a robot, but they can't, like, they can manufacture it in something fake but not real in themselves. And it's crazy because, I mean, obviously AI boyfriends and AI girlfriends in apps, they're a thing now.
I know.
There's a thing, and it's making people develop a certain kind of psychosis.
And it's scary. Like, it's addiction, I think.
Oh, it's 100%.
Like every other thing.
100%.
Porn addiction, alcohol addiction. I think AI is going it is an addiction.
Yeah. It tells you what you want to hear, and it validates you in a way that you don't get from society, that you should be getting from other people.
It takes your side all the time.
Yeah. There's a reason why Hollywood has made these sci-fi movies and shows the way this ends up.
I know, right?
Do you see how they programmed an AI, and it, like, when it learned about the world, it shut itself down because it didn't want to exist.
That's how I feel sometimes.
Me too. I mean, it gets it, but how long is it going to take?
I think we have days, right? Just like the world is too much and we're still going. We have days like, yeah, we got this. We are accomplishing. We are moving forward. Then the crash comes.
Yeah.
Because I'm the same. I have PTSD. And I have good days, bad days. And then the crash comes, and you know how it is.
It's manic for me. You get the highest highs and then the lowest lows. And that juxtaposition, it's like, it makes you feel like on top of the world 1 minute, like you can achieve everything. And then, as you said, when you crash, it's like, I don't care. I don't care about nothing. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be a writer. I don't want to be a musician. I don't care about people, or I care too much about people, and I'm exhausted, and I'm too exhausted to do anything. And then I'll just, I will hide. And then you lose yourself in the doom scrolling and just the toxic, to find that strength to stay, away from vices, for me, away from alcohol, and away from smoking, away from doing all the things that are really bad for my health conditions. Because, again, it's one thing when you're just a person that's able-bodied, but when you've got those addictions and you're disabled and those conditions are affected by that, I know that if I fall back on that...
PTSD.
Yeah.
PTSD has a thing that we get, for example, addicted to comfort. For example, I have a thing. I like ice.
Yeah.
I like iced coffee. It's my grounding. And PTSD is, you can really fall into addiction quite easily. So it's another battle where not to fall and not to have this addiction, because we crash. So you have a day where you're feeling, I got this. And then when you're low, you feel you're not capable at times of stopping yourself.
And if you don't have that vice as well, when you're in that position, you spiral even more.
Ooh,
like the worst.
I finished my ice coffee. I finished it, but that's
the worst for me. I can't cope, because my thing was broth. So
you liked broth?
Every night it was one specific chicken broth with sweet potato and edamame beans and spinach and tomato. It was a specific recipe, which I found out later on that my I just craved these things and created this recipe, and it turns out all of those things specifically are good for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and encouraged to have. And I was like, the body knows what it wants, and it became my safe food. I had that every night for a year, didn't vary.
And you cannot skip it, right?
I couldn't. If I didn't have it, I would have panic attacks, and I would feel ridiculous. Someone would be like, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" And I couldn't say, "I haven't got my broth."
I relate to you.
Now I'm in a really bad position because after this kidney failure issue, I'm not allowed to have my broth. I'm not allowed to have a single ingredient that's in my safe food. In fact, the majority of my safe foods, on top of the health being autistic, I have safe foods as well. None of the safe foods that I have mentally are good for my kidney condition. I can't have any of them. And so now I've got no safe foods. I feel constantly dysregulated and triggered. And I was given no guidance by the doctor on how to deal with that, on top of how I could eat healthily according to my condition.
Yes.
So I'm trying to maintain a regulated state and comfort food. But I'm not allowed to have my comfort food, so I'm in this spirally state, and you end up like being around people and snapping and getting manic, and like, you can't explain to them, "Oh, I don't have this drink or I don't have this food," and that's what's you sound ridiculous. When I say it, I feel ridiculous.
Do you think that's why you isolate yourself?
It grounds us. It makes us.
Grounds you.
It makes you feel like you're existing in a moment.
Something about the feel, the texture. Something that you feel safe.
You feel human. You feel like you're in
consistent.
Yeah, exact consistency. Having routine when you have PTSD especially and chronic health conditions, you need something to maintain some level of control in your life, something that you can one thing that's familiar, that you can control, that you can be consistent with, even when all else fails, that one thing. And then when you haven't even got that, you're just in this like freeze mode state of like, what do I do? And I've got this mantra that I don't even know when I formed this, but I remember when, again, this is probably related to Doctor Who.
You make me want to watch Doctor Who now, honestly.
When I remember that no, actually, I'm wrong. It wasn't Doctor Who. It was Teen Wolf. And it was to stop...
Was that animation?
No.
I haven't heard of that.
So Teen Wolf was... it was originally a movie about werewolves, and then it got made into a TV show.
Oh, okay.
Great show. And there was one... So they had a mantra to stop one of the kids from turning into the werewolf. It would be a mantra that grounded him. And I can't remember what the mantra was, but it was related to the moon or whatever. But it was a mantra that he would repeat to pull himself back into his humanity and ground himself. And I was like, I need that. And then I don't remember how I formed it, but I was just like saying to myself, what is a safe space to me? And it's like a bubble of, this is where the Doctor Who comes in, it's a bubble where I need to exist outside of time in my own pocket universe. And I was like, for me, it's the space between the seconds. So it's when I'm in a panic attack and when there's all these external things happening, I just I'm in myself, and I'm just saying to myself, in this moment you are here, in this moment you are safe. So it's that over and over and over again, where it's like, in this, like, you might not be safe in 5 minutes from now, but in this 1 second right now, you're okay. In this next second, you're okay. And that's originally how I got sober, because I was just saying to myself, in this 1 second, do it 1 second at a time. In this 1 second, you don't need to drink. In this next second, you don't need to drink. You are in one moment right here. Like if I needed to leave the house because I was very agoraphobic, I still have it. And I'm like, the Uber's coming. I need to leave this house in like 5 minutes. And then I'd be like, you've got 5 minutes. In this 5 minutes, you are safe. You've got this 5 minutes to breathe. In this moment, you are here. In this moment, you are safe. And it's that mantra that really sort of saved my life, because I was able to start living again by giving myself that pocket universe to exist in and escape into. and it was within me that I found my own comfort.
Wow. This mantra could be helping other people and me. Right now, I'm actually taking notes.
Try it.
I'm going to try it, and a lot of people might benefit from this. You might not be getting the reaction when you're vulnerable, singing vulnerable music and showing that side to you. But believe me, in silence, people are watching, they're learning, they're observing, and it will help someone. It will help many. It's usually when you're showing your strength and power and and I'm strong, you'll get reaction because people are more comfortable. Like, keep it up, keep smiling, keep laughing. But when you're like, I have pain, I have emotions.
I don't want to smile.
I don't want to smile. I'm a survivor of domestic abuse, and I started and I'm doing. And people are like, they don't know how to sit with it.
Yeah.
They're like, oof, we're not ready for this. We just want to kind of
escape. Yeah, we came here to get away from and that's why I always say, beforehand, like, topics I'm going to cover, because obviously people come to an Ace Ambrose show, they don't know what to expect unless the tone has already been set. Like, if it's a rock and roll event, I'm not going to sing certain songs because I'm like, this is a rock and roll punk event, I'm going to keep it, to the genre, to the thing. But then if there's like a mental health event, then I'll sing songs about mental health, because then people know what to expect. They're not going there to get escapism. They're going there knowing that, people are going to be vulnerable at this event. So they're not going to be caught off guard, let's say.
Can I ask? Sorry.
No, I was just going to say intentional discomfort.
Intentional discomfort.
Yeah.
I want to invite you to my book launch.
Yes.
I'd like you to sing at my book launch. What music would you like to sing?
Firstly, I'd be honoured. And two, it's going to be, I think, a mixture of songs from my upcoming EP, Hope Amongst the Horror, which is protest songs for Palestine. Mm-hmm. And then I will also be having songs that I have never, ever performed, which are about my mental and physical health, the PTSD, there's so many songs that I wrote but never felt comfortable performing, and not even like felt uncomfortable performing them. It was more that I'd never been given a platform or reason to perform them. There was never an event that was for for talking about PTSD and domestic abuse survival or anything like that. And I wouldn't want to perform these type of songs unless I was in a space where I felt safe as well. You know what I mean? And what you do so amazingly well is you use what you've been through to create a safe space for other people to exist in and be vulnerable. And that's something that I feel is very niche. It's not a thing in mainstream media. It's because you see in mainstream media and TV shows, it's exploitative because they get people on TV shows to talk about their pain and their trauma to turn it into like profit and into like clickbait and like it's so weird to me. I don't like it. Even the shows that are supposedly like made by people that have been through it. Once Hollywood is Hollywood.
Entertainment.
It's entertainment, and that's the problem. I don't like it when people turn other people's trauma into entertainment for their own profit, because there's people that genuinely do want to help, but then there's just the I don't know, I feel like talk shows are one thing, but then it's like having an audience there and then having people be expected to be so extremely vulnerable. It's uncomfortable because I also know for a fact that it's not like they're offered any mental health aftercare after these shows. You know what I mean? That's not a thing. And it's different when it's such an informal space like this between us, because, we feel safe with each other, we know each other, and there's no pressure. But then when and I've experienced this on radio shows where I've been in before, they'll just catch me completely off guard. I've been invited to what I thought was to perform a song and talk about a song that's just been released. And they're like, oh, also, by the way, I heard that you've been through this, which is completely irrelevant. Can you talk about your entire story, bringing it up to thousands of people, like listening live, catching me completely off guard. So I'm not given time to prepare. I'm not able to, and you know, if I'm having like a panic attack, I have to suppress it. I have to mask in that moment, you know, and it's one of the reasons I stopped doing radio shows and mainstream stuff, because I don't feel comfortable, especially after that headline thing where they announced my father's death.
Father's death.
I was just, there's such an invasion of privacy, because again, what you said earlier, there's that boundary crossing where they have parasocial relationships with you.
They take it away from you. They take basically something that is so personal to you belongs to everyone else.
Yeah, they're like, well, you put it online, therefore it belongs to us.
And it's not. It feels it's not real somehow. It's not.
Yeah.
It is real, but somehow they're telling you how to feel about it.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing. You're not. They're like, oh, we're gonna trigger you, but you're not allowed to act triggered.
It's like,
if you act crazy, then like, you know, that's why I like that film, the most recent Joaquin Phoenix Joker, because it was such a realistic.
I haven't seen that one.
You should watch it. It was so realistic, that scene of someone having like so many bad days and having mental health and physical health issues, and then when they're brought on to like an interview, like on I can't remember the interview that he was on, but it was like a Hollywood interview, and then he snapped on live TV. Ooh. And it was a great scene, because everyone's laughing until they're not, you know what I mean? And then like, and it's like, yeah, because you push someone past their breaking point, and then you expect them to not have a human response.
Yeah. Do you take painkillers to stop the pain, or this?
I do, but this is another thing. I've been trialed on every pain medication, like to the point where I've developed resistance against it. So the most recent I was on was the strongest type of surgical morphine you can be on. My body resisted that, and then I was put on Neuramol, and Neuramol is a mixture of ibuprofen and paracetamol. And that is very dangerous to be on when you don't have anything protecting your stomach lining. And the doctors didn't give me anything, and that damaged my stomach lining, so I ended up in hospital. And so while in hospital, they overloaded me with fluid, refused to listen to me when I told them about my condition, saying, you know, because of this condition I've got that affects my veins, I cannot be on an extended drip, because if I'm on a saline drip, it will overload me with fluid. My veins physically cannot handle it, because they're too stretchy, so it leaks. They didn't listen.
Is that the last time you were in hospital?
Yeah.
That was the last time.
That was the last time. They overloaded me with fluid, damaged my kidney. And
I'm so sorry to hear that.
It sucks. It sucks. And now I'm obviously out of hospital, feeling much better.
You look amazing.
Thank you. It's
honestly,
self-care.
It's self-care. Yeah. It's your voice, your music, and the guitar. And I'm so grateful. Honestly, I'm speechless. The idea that you came out today and knowing how much you're carrying. I'm so honored. I just want to hold you. I'm so honored. Thank you.
I wouldn't miss this. And this is the thing that's, being completely honest, that whenever I agree to doing opportunities, anything at all, there's always that thing in the back of my head that's saying, come up with an excuse why you can't make it. And I didn't have that with this, because I, from the get-go, was like, one, I know that if I absolutely couldn't make it, you know, I don't have anxiety about asking for accommodations for you. You know, we could have done it over Zoom. We could do anything.
Because I did mention, I said, if you're not feeling well, we can do a video call. But hey,
I was determined to come out. I was like, no, I want to sit on this sofa. I was like, I want to be able to start saying yes to things. This year is my goal.
Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for accepting yourself, because you're amazing. And thank you for having me and giving me this platform to be vulnerable, because safe spaces are one in a million. They're very difficult to come by.
in a genuine, authentic.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. I guess us survivors, mental health, you know, we understand, we connect, we know safety is very important to us.
Yeah, and if the space doesn't exist, we have to make it for ourselves.
We make it. We make it and we offer it to each other.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Ace.